If you feel you've been caught in a situation where things are not moving, whether you're trying to move things in your career or in your business or trying to move up in a certain trajectory, maybe in your relationship or any project that you want to do, or maybe even in your finances or trying to develop assets, then maybe you have entered into a period where the period is of stagnation, and try as you might, things may not move. So then it's important to understand what are the reasons why you have entered this period of stagnation, what are the planetary placement, if the dasha or the antardasha or the transits are favoring you or not favoring you, and what could be the mitigation factors in this situation. Hello, namaskar and adab to all my friends from different astrologer and guide. Sydirfan once more with you from your very own channel, Astrological. A few times people reach out to me and they ask me about a specific area of life, for example, business. A few times it is about nothing is happening on the relationship, nothing is happening when they're trying to get married, and try as they might, they're not able to find a suitable partner. They're in and out of relationships. Same thing could happen where the business is stagnated. Try as they might, there is no development, there is nothing that what they're attempting is really working out. Sometimes it could be in career where you're stagnated into a certain designation or role, or try as you might. Others seem to be growing, others seem to be moving forward, others seem to be getting promoted, others seem to be getting appreciated and acknowledged, but you are stuck up there. So then in such a situation, it's important to do a deep dive and understand why are you facing this season of or this situation or this period. Sometimes it could be short, maybe 6-7 months to a year. Sometimes it could be much longer. So why is the situation arising in your life? What are the planetary placements which are responsible for it? And is there some solution that you can see or you can work out to be able to overcome this situation and maybe mitigate some of this and maybe face it in a different way? For example, if there is a certain period of stagnation, come what may, nothing is going to happen, then what is the point of starting something new? It's better to ride over the period and enter into a good period before you start your attempt, especially where if you're investing money, if you're investing effort, you're starting up a new project, you're starting up a new business, you're starting up a new venture, then it's always important that you understand the situation well. Now, many times we do look at the Mahurata, or if the auspicious period is around you, but generally you look at the planetary placements overall. But a deep dive into your horoscope is also very important, because number of times a number of businesses are started and they end up finishing within a very short period of time. For example, I see a number of restaurant businesses failing. There, if you don't have very supportive planetary placements, especially that of, for example, Venus and of Jupiter, strong placement, then your restaurant business or something connected to food will really not do very well. So it's important to understand these placements very well. Sometimes people start up new businesses in the IT sector. There, if your 8th house, your Rahu is not very strong, even your Venus to a certain extent is not strong, then you may not be able to get good success. And in the Mahadasha of this any of these entities, you may get stagnated. Try as you might, there may be no movement forward. So what are some of the reasons why people face stagnation in life? They are not able to move forward. Let's jump in and see some of the contributing factors to the stagnation. Now, one reason could be if Saturn or the Lagna Lord or even the 10th Lord, they are in a bad dignity. One or two of them could even be retrograde. One or two of them could even be debilitated. Then you will find that the stagnation could be strong. Saturn is the Karaka of work. Saturn is the Karaka of hard work. Saturn is also the Karaka of getting results after putting in hard work, structured hard work over a period of time. And if the Lagna Lord is not placed well, it may be a contributing factor along with Saturn. So Saturn is very important for your efforts giving you fruits. And generally you feel you're stagnated when you're trying to put in the efforts, nothing is happening. If you're not putting in the efforts, obviously you may not feel that you are stagnated. But if you're putting in the efforts, nothing is moving forward, then Saturn can be a very strong culprit. Apart from either the Lagna Lord being an added factor or the 10th lord also being an added factor. So stagnation is seen sometimes in those areas where the house lord, which is one of the contributing factors, where the house lord as well as the karakas of that particular area also are in bad dignity, along with, say for example, Saturn or a Ketu getting involved. For example, if you're looking for finances doing very well, then the karaka of finances as well as the fifth lord. So if fifth house lord, say for example a sun is not in good dignity, and the karaka of money and finance, especially liquid money, Venus is not well placed, then you may face a challenge. Same thing can happen in relationship. If the seventh lord is not well placed, as well as Venus is afflicted, retrograde or debilitated, then too you may not get good results and you may feel that you're stagnated, especially if Saturn and Ketu are also getting involved in the mix. With Ketu, any association with Ketu, either through conjunction or with aspect, along with the karaka of the house lord being in bad dignity, can also be a strong contributing factor, because of which the results can be seen as stagnated. Stagnation may also happen when the house lord itself is in very bad dignity and its Mahadasha is starting very late in life. So for example, Sun is placed in very bad dignity and the Mahadasha of Sun is very late in life, especially because the Antardasha of Sun is also for a very short duration. So even during a longer Mahadasha of, say, a Mercury or a Venus or a Jupiter or a Saturn, the Antardasha period of Sun can be very short. And if you are born in the period, for example, of Moon, then the Sun Mahadasha you have to generally forget, because it will come very late in life. So it's important that you also see whether the house lord and the karaka of a certain result, it is in bad dignity and its Mahadasha, it's not going to occur until very late in life, and its Antardasha period is also very short period. The worst stagnation which can occur in your life, for example, in either wealth, when you're trying every effort to increase your wealth, or in career where you're not getting the designation, the roles, the growth, then it usually occurs where both Saturn and Ketu get related to the house or the house lord. For example, if the second house lord and the 10th house lord, they are in very bad dignity, then the career is getting affected because 10th house is involved here, and the second house of income, livelihood, is getting affected. So usually our work is associated with the income for most of us. So both of them get afflicted or form a relationship with Ketu and Saturn. For example, Saturn is the 10th lord and is retrograde, or Saturn is placed in the 10th house in bad dignity, Ketu is aspecting the second house, or Ketu is placed in the second house, or Ketu is forming some relationship with the second lord by either conjunction or with aspect, then too there may be a challenge. And usually the Antardasha of Ketu, usually in such an instance, or the transit of Ketu related to that house or house lord of the karaka, may bring about a situation where you may enter into a period of stagnation and for a long period. Then a bad fifth house and a poorly placed seventh lord, for example, there nothing exciting can happen in your love life and your relationship life, and it may become almost stagnant. You feel your love life, for example, people who are in a relationship, nothing much is happening, you're not doing anything exciting thing. Maybe you're meeting every now and then, maybe getting intimate also, but the time for each other is just not there. So the intimacy is not happening, the romance is not happening, maybe the marriage is not happening for years together, and both of you are looking for a right period of marriage, for example, doing well in career or establishing yourself, and because of being very busy, you're not able to spend some quality time with each other. One of the contributing factors could be your poorly placed fifth house and your seventh lord, for example. Apart from, say, for example, Venus establishing any relationship either in bad dignity or retrogression or with Saturn and Ketu. Then another very tough period or a very long stagnation period can also happen when the eighth lord is poorly placed in your horoscope and Mars is also weak in your horoscope. For example, 8th house is the house of obstructions, negations, challenges, problems, and being in the dark. So stagnation period is also about where you are in the dark, you're trying everything, nothing is working out. and you also don't know what is the reason. And then Mars is also weak in the horoscope. So the effort that you're putting in, Mars is the karak of effort. Effort is not giving you the results. And if Mars is debilitated or Mars is in bad placement, for example, Mars getting into Gemini, Mars getting into Virgo, Mars getting into even Libra or even Aquarius, then too there may be a challenge. Other situations are when at least out of 4, 2 of the natural benefits are in very bad dignity or in retrogression, or they have formed some relationship with Saturn or Ketu, and especially Saturn is in bad dignity, then too you can face challenges. So let's look at 2 or 3 examples ascendant wise and see why. These are just a few placements. They are not only these. There can be other contributing factors also for these ascendant. But let's jump in and see what could be factors. I'm taking example of each of the planets who are the Lagna Lord. So for example, if I'm taking Mercury, I will take either Gemini or Mercury. If I'm taking the example of Venus being the Lagna Lord, then I will take either a Taurus or a Libra, for example. So let's look at some examples to understand how some of the placements can show some stagnation in life. For instance, if you have a Aries rising sign or Aries zodiac sign and the 10th Lord Saturn, which is also the 11th Lord of wishes and desires, is placed in debilitation, for example, in the Lagna itself, and then aspecting Mars, which is the Lagna Lord. Mars is the karak of effort, and Saturn, which is debilitated and aspecting Mars. So in spite of your best efforts that you do in your career or some wishes and desire coming true, you will not be able to get results. Secondly, you will find that Mercury is debilitated, which is the 2nd Lord or the 7th Lord of teamwork, which is also under the 4th aspect of Mars in this particular placement. Then too there can be challenges because Venus is the karak of money, Venus is debilitated, Venus is also the 7th Lord and placed 12 to itself and under the 4th aspect of Mars. Mars itself is under a tough situation. So there can be many other placements for Aries which may show a stagnation. I'm just giving you one of the examples. Then for example, for a Taurus rising sign person or Taurus zodiac sign person, here Saturn is once again the 10th Lord, but Saturn is placed in Scorpio sign. Now usually Saturn does well in the 7th house. However, if Saturn is here retrograde or combusted with the presence of Sun or under the aspect of a Ketu, then too there can be a challenge here, especially when you have Saturn, which is also the 10th Lord and also the 9th house Lord of gains. And if the 8th Lord Jupiter and the 11th Lord Jupiter's place in debilitation, for example, and under the aspect of Saturn from the 7th house with the 3rd aspect of effort. So in spite of your best efforts to be able to get your wishes and desires fulfilled, career taking off, things are not happening because Saturn is not only aspecting Jupiter but also the Lagna, and which is the where Lagna Lord is Venus. And if Lagna Lord Venus is also debilitated or Venus gets placed even in, say for example, in the Gemini sign or gets placed in Scorpio sign itself in the 7th house, or Venus gets placed even in Aries in the 12th house for a Taurus rising sign person, then too there may be challenges. If Ketu gets also into the mix or Saturn establishes any relationship with Venus. For example, here Saturn is establishing a relationship with Venus by aspecting Venus's sign, the ascendant sign, which is Taurus. Now let's look at one more example, the example of, say for example, a Leo rising sign person or Leo zodiac sign person. Now here for a Leo rising sign or zodiac sign person, if Sun gets into the 6th house and say for example into a sign ruled by Saturn and is under the aspect of Saturn, this is a tough placement. First of all, Sun doesn't do very well in the 6th house, which is also the house of Virgo in the natural Kalpurush Kundli. And if Sun is establishing any relationship with Ketu, either through conjunction or Ketu aspecting it, Ketu can aspect it from the 10th house, Ketu can also aspect it from the 2nd house, or is conjunct, then too it's a problem of negation of many results in life. This can be, just such a person can face a lot of stagnation. And the Saturn is also in the mix by virtue of mutual aspect. And Saturn here, for example, is also aspecting a debilitated Venus in the 2nd house of income, while Venus is also the 10th Lord. then too it can be a challenge, because Venus is also the lord of the third house of effort. So effort is not giving you fruit, career is not doing well, Lagna lord is placed badly with Ketu, which is negating results. So this is just one example. There can be many other placements for a Leo rising sign person, where different placements can even lead to stagnation. Now, for example, for a Virgo rising sign person, I'm just taking one example. There can be many examples for a Virgo sign person where things are getting stagnated for a long period of time. For example, Ketu in the Lagna, under the aspect of Saturn, or establishing any relationship with Saturn. Why Ketu in the Lagna is important? Because the third house, which is co-ruled by Mars and Ketu, now Ketu has got into the Lagna and into the Mool Trikona sign of the Lagna lord, which is Mercury. And if Mercury also gets badly placed, for example, Mercury gets placed in Aquarius, or Mercury gets placed in the 8th house, or Mercury gets placed even in Scorpio sign in the 3rd house, then too it could be a challenge, especially because Saturn is the Karaka of the, or the ruler of the 6th house of service, of career, as well as the 5th house of gains. So challenge can come from children, challenge can come from new changes. So whenever you want to make a job change, you will find things are getting stagnated and things are not developing as you want to develop. Usually you don't get the opportunities which you're seeking, which you like, and things are not moving forward, especially if the Lagna lord is also not placed well. Now let's take the example of Jupiter, where Jupiter is the Lagna lord. So for example, if Jupiter gets placed with Saturn, now yeah, Saturn is exalted in the 11th house, but with the Lagna lord Jupiter. So in spite of all the effort that you make, that results are not coming by, or may not come by, because Saturn third aspect is also on the Mool Trikona sign of Jupiter and is influencing Jupiter also. And if any of these planets gets retrograde or debilitated, for example, if Jupiter gets debilitated in the 2nd house, while Saturn is placed in the 12th house and aspecting Jupiter, and Saturn placed in the 12th house, while Saturn is also the ruler of the 2nd house of income and 3rd house of effort, can also be a challenge. Here in this example, Saturn is aspecting the Mool Trikona sign of Jupiter with the 3rd aspect, and say for example, Ketu gets into the mix. Ketu here is also the co-ruler of the 12th house. And Ketu is placed in the 2nd house of income. So try as you might, you may not be able to get the income you want. There may be stagnation in, or increase in your bank balance or liquid money, or you may not be getting good increments also from time to time. So some of the placements, so there can be many other placements which show for Sagittarius person where there can be stagnation and things are not moving forward. So friends, now that we have seen some examples where because of the placements, because of a bad dasha, because of poor antardasha, because of poor aspects, because of poor doshas also in some of the placements, in some of the houses of the karakas, the significators, there can be stagnation in life. To deep dive into your horoscope and understand in the current transits, in the current dasha or mahadasha period or antardasha period, if at all you're facing stagnation, if at all things are not moving forward, if at all your efforts are not bearing fruit, what is the deep lying factor, and try to mitigate them. The best way to mitigate some of these challenges is to understand the karakas very well, understand the house lords well, specifically the area where you are getting stagnated, and do charity in the line of that planet, or do some effort in the line of the planet. For example, if Jupiter is afflicted and you're not getting results connected to the house lord that Jupiter is the house lord of, then upskilling yourself, learning something new, getting new experiences can also help you. Apart from, say for example, if Mars is strongly afflicted, then putting in higher effort and not losing the focus is very important. With Saturn, being organized, being structured, keeping the discipline, persevering, not disturbing your day-to-day timetable at all is important. With Venus, it's important that you are well dressed, you are smelling good, you use good language, you never lose your motivation, you never lose the demeanor that you have. Your personality should be good, your ability to influence people should be strong. With Sun, always take the leadership, always take the accountability, talk positively, never allow demotivation to lower your energies. Keep very high energies, both with Sun and Mars, for example, to mitigate these challenges, apart from donating and giving charity in the line of these planets. Wearing gemstones or doing some mantras and all will help you, not even 1 to 5%. I've never seen these things work. What works is the personality change in the characteristics of the planet and effort that you put in the direction of the planet and charity that you do in the direction of the planet. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me, the link given below. Until some other time with some other video, this is your friend Astrologer and Guide. Signing off.